I've opened up a blank file, and what I've done is just basically turn the grid off. You can use the grid, or you could turn it off. Remember, that's down here in the status bar. We've gone through it. In the book, they go through the line command, polyline, circles, and remember, if I click on the down arrow underneath a button, if there's a little arrow here, you'll see other options of creating that geometry. So there's a lot of ways of drawing circles, a lot of ways of drawing arcs. Underneath the rectangle tool is polygon. So if you see these little arrows, make sure you look underneath. The other is underneath the draw, you'll see an arrow, and there's other draw tools that we don't use as often but are available to us. Same thing with modify. There's a lot of other modify tools here too. So they're going to go through each one of these: move, copy, stretch, scale, rotate. Trim is a great tool. Offset is a great tool. So as you create your geometry, you can offset multiple items. You can offset circles, lines. Basically, it's similar to what we used to do with the parallels on the boards. Create an object an equal distance away in parallel. We'll also get into, in this chapter, the text. Underneath here, you're going to see two types: multi-line text and single-line text. Multi-line is like a text box in Word, where it'll have a text editor. If I click on that, I can pick a box, and my ribbon then changes, and I can select font and different justifications and so on. If I do single-line text, I have to pick a start point. And remember, down in the command line, it gives me what it's asking me for. So specify start point. So I click on that. Now it's asking me for the text height. So let's say if I want a text height of 0.125. And then the rotation, remember in AutoCAD, to the right is 0, and default, remember if it's in these brackets, that's default. You can just hit enter here. And then you can type any text you want here. Remember, text in drafting is always capitalized, so make sure cap locks is on. And then I always hit enter, and I can type some more, or if I hit enter again, it exits me from that command. So I'm zoomed way out here, but you can see how we can insert text in. The other couple things, I'm going to create some geometry here. There's a lot of different ways of selecting objects. The first way is simply if I go to any modify command. Notice my cursor has crosshairs to it. If I go to any modify command, my cursor turns into a pick box. And so that pick box allows me to select objects. And if I mouse over, you'll see it highlights. So there's 5 different ways of selecting objects. The first one is just to simply pick it. The next you're going to see is if I click in an open space and let go, so click once. If I go to the lower left or upper left, the box is dotted in green. This will select anything I even come near or touch. Okay, so if I go over the top of those 2 lines, it will select them. The next way is if I click to the right, or if after I click I go to the right, upper or lower, it's blue and solid. This is nice. Let's say I want to select just this line. If I click here, it won't select it until I fully surround it. So even though I'm touching these other objects, if they're not totally in the box, it won't select it. The fourth way is called the lasso tool. If I click and hold and I go to the left, it'll be green, and I can kind of lasso and then let go. If I click and hold and go to the right, I can lasso, and again it's a closed window where it has to be surrounded. And then the last option is I can just type ALL for all, and it would select everything. So once again, if I wanted to erase this, I could type ALL, hit enter, and it selects everything, hit enter again, and it disappears. So that's some modified tools. You're going to get into the array command, rectangular, path, and polar. And rectangular is kind of like a grid with rows and columns. A path is along a path, and I put an object on it. and then it will array that around that path. And then polar is if I want to do like a bolt circle or something that goes around another circle. I can give quantities, angle to fill, and all kinds of options there. So take a look at a lot of the modified tools. Tutorial 1 will walk you through step by step, creating a couple of arcs, putting some lines that replicate like a blade of grass, and then arraying those in a path, creating a rectangle or a wagon and a handle, and then a stop sign, and then a polygon, and then a sun with some lines that go around that also. And then you'll have 2 projects to do at the end, and so when you're completed, make sure, again, remember to fill out or make sure they're formatted correctly. I will take any AutoCAD file easily. That's the best way to do CAD files, is just to save them and then email me the .dwg file. AutoCAD tends to create 2 files. One's a backup file and one's an AutoCAD file, so make sure you send me the AutoCAD file. I think you should be good. Again, other videos are out there on that CD, and there's PowerPoints, and then the book covers it quite extensively. Make sure you're staying up with the assignments. Have a great day.